Welcome to Voice Rising with Kara Johnstad. Enjoy weekly conversations with leading luminaries, pioneering visionaries, singers, poets, musicians, and sound healers as we explore the profound role our voice plays on the path to self-realization and global enlightenment. The internationally acclaimed singer, composer, author, healer, recording artist, voice expert, creator of Voice Your Essence, and founder of the School of Voice, Kara Johnstad uses her extraordinary spiritual gifts to empower others. Everything in this world vibrates. Everything has a frequency. A pioneer in the field of voice work and transformational songwriting. Her breakthrough methods are helping thousands of people worldwide fine-tune their body-mind-spirit system and unlock the energetic frequencies of limitless creativity, health, and abundance. Share your voice, ask your questions, join in the conversation. Receive life-changing, positive transformation and rise together to create a sound world. And here's your host, Kara Johnstad.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Voice Rising. Today, I'm joined by the brilliant and inspiring Ruslana Remennikova, a former corporate scientist turned sound healer and the author of the transformative book, Activating Our 12-Stranded DNA, Secrets of Dodecahedral DNA for Completing Our Human Evolution. Ruslana's work explores a powerful intersection of science, vibration, and consciousness, revealing how sound can activate and heal our DNA, unlock our spiritual potential, and guide us on a journey of deep personal transformation. With her unique blend of scientific knowledge and spiritual wisdom, Ruslana offers us profound insights into how sound, intention, and ancient wisdom can help us heal on a cellular level, release trauma, and evolve as conscious beings. So, Ruslana, it's absolutely a pleasure to have you with me today on the show. Welcome.
Kara, thank you. I'm honored, and what a pleasure to be here and share in this time together.
Yeah, these are very powerful times. I think this work is so important because there is so much grief in the moment where we're recording now. We have fires in LA. There are wars continually happening. There's a lot of sadness, and yet there is a profound longing, I think, longing to become more conscious human beings. And there's still a deep belief that we can have not only world peace, but become very peaceful and understanding what it means to be, in a blissful state, even within these storms and these challenges. So you must feel very proud to have this new book. It's almost an encyclopedia. Do you know what an encyclopedia? It was like, I'll tell you honestly, I know a lot about sound healing and music and frequency, and it was really deep. I mean, it's very deep. There's a lot of different threads, like a big tapestry. So what's it feel like to have your first book out there?
Oh, wow. There's this dichotomy and transition that I wanted to say that sort of encompasses how I feel. But when we were talking about the grief in this moment, it reminds me of the moon and how the celestial body is reflecting the light of the sun to illuminate the darkness for us.
Yeah.
And as we navigate this darkness, we can do it with the light because it's there, and that's the blessing. It's still there, even at times it doesn't feel like it. So that's how I feel in this moment. Is that my moon? I'm grateful for trusting my moon and for believing in the light and the road, and creating this peace, because it it was just such a beautiful and challenging journey. But this piece actually inspires me more than anything.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I was struggling at times and realizing that where there's shadow, there's always light. So the bigger the shadow, the greater the light. And we tend to forget that sometimes. It's not easy walking on the earth with all these challenges. And so it's good that we have some guidebooks. Your book is definitely a guidebook, and we have some guides, and we have dear friends, and we have beloveds. Your work bridges science and spirituality. So you're coming from the corporate world. I believe you were even in the industry of, well, DNA probably, and also vaccinations, et cetera, and you left that world. Tell us where your turning point was. What was that turning point where you were an avid scientist for corporations and suddenly you became an avid scientist on the spiritual path?
Beautiful. Thank you, Kara. Well, it was such a journey to experience my father passing away. Actually, that was my pivotal point in 2016. I was a corporate scientist working for pharmaceutical product development, which is now merged with Thermo Fisher Scientific. And that's where my grief, blessing, and curse was at once.
Yeah.
Where I experienced the hardest loss of my life, my father. And when it happened, I just started to reevaluate everything. Am I doing what I'm being called to do? And it's funny and interesting how I even heard that little voice is, am I doing what I am called to do? That's the signal, the trigger that I think is so significant in listening to our DNA and listening to the memory that wants to unfold. Because that memory is going to contribute the path of our life.
Yeah.
So I decided that I would, before just leaving corporate, I decided that I was going to remember my father by doing an Ironman triathlon.
Wow.
And the reason why
would he have been proud, your father, or would he have been thinking, you are so crazy? Just go for walks every day to the park. It's okay, Ruslana. You do not have to prove anything to me. Was he a big sporty guy?
Well, both of us were actually experiencing tremendous depression together before he passed away. We were in this cycle, and I told him, why don't we try to get ourselves out? Why don't we focus on our wellness? Why don't we become more active? So I wanted to invite him to start doing triathlon together. And we started to train, and he and I were training our health back.
Nice.
It was a matter of months, 3 months, that we trained to do an Olympic level triathlon, which is only a quarter of an Ironman.
Wow.
And then after we did our Olympic level Ironman, 7 days later, he died.
Oh my goodness.
The reason why I chose to do the Ironman is because I wanted to face my fear. It wasn't about appeasing him. I wanted to remember him in this way because it was the last time I saw him through this, and I didn't want it to become futile or escape us. So I decided to go towards the resistance. And so after the Ironman happened, I came back and I left corporate. At the time, I still wanted to continue down this path. It's all spiritual, but as human beings, we want to concretize spirituality in physical form. We want to manifest it. So I wanted to manifest health, healthy products. So I decided to open a juice truck.
Nice. Yeah, that's right. A juice truck. Right. With carrot juice, beet juice, ginger.
Yes, a juice truck. And ironically, I called it Pulp Fiction, which, yes, it was a complete pun on juice. And ironically, I had to actually change it a couple of years later. But the juice venture turned into a coffee shop extension. And we operated for about 2.5 years before coronavirus entered into the world and sort of clouded everything for everybody. So I decided to go back to corporate, to the same company, Thermo Fisher Scientific, where I worked in vaccine sciences for 2.5 years and worked on this book, or at least the embryo form of it. And then I made another leap because I believed in this work.
Yeah, it must have been fascinating for you as a scientist to go through the pandemic. And also, people have a very clear idea of this is a virus that's going to affect you or kill you or whatever. And other people have ideas, we can change the way things affect us through environments, through belief systems. That some people said stay away, stay inside, and other people said we need to go out and get sunshine and fresh air. We need to find safe places to walk, to stretch our bodies. How is it for you as a scientist, knowing what you know about science, to experience that phase in our evolution?
Beautiful. Well, quite frankly, I felt like the specimen in the lab because I didn't want to, I knew inside that I had a deeper longing to explore science on a more spiritual level. And while I worked with biotherapeutics and I felt that I wanted to make an impact on a global scale, I felt that I was still furthering the mission of corporate science. And that's a dead end for me. It was very perplexing to me as still. I knew that when I was returning, it would just be a temporary incubator. But when I was working, I appreciated that I still operated with an open mind, allowed my curious spirit to further the company's objectives while also unraveling my own in this book. When I left corporate the second time, I did the same leap. I decided that I was going to open a sound medicine practice. And I want to also say one more thing before going into that, but I want to say that viruses are actually quite intelligent living organisms. There's so much information within viruses, and I do believe that if we carried a different kind of perspective into how we can further understand viruses and how we can work with their information, we can actually create more of a better understanding of how we can work with viruses, because viruses are found everywhere. You take a drop of water and there's millions of viruses in this.
I think that is something that that we all get to become more familiar with, hopefully with time and books like yours. And I do a lot of frequency medicine healing, is that to really understand that our body is just an amazing miracle of bacteria and germs and viruses. It's amazing. We are so identified looking at ourselves in the mirror and asking ourselves, "Oh, do we look beautiful today?" But we have parasites, we have heavy metals, we have just so much stuff going on. And what happened in the pandemic is there was just so much fear. So I think that what is so beautiful is, what you're saying at the beginning of the show is that you chose to do the Ironman to move through your fear, to drop fear or to come to the edge of fear and not to be afraid, right? And so hopefully we're going to get to a place in our world where when these things happen, we're not going to be paralyzed by fear, and we'll have tools, many different tools, so that we can feel more empowered in how we heal. That would
Absolutely.
be my big wish. Share with us a little bit. Your book is called, let me get the title exactly correct here. It's because Activating Our 12-Stranded DNA. And for me, this is really fascinating as a musician because, as you know, music, we have 12 tones in our one octave, which then repeat, and also rhythm is based on 3 4 4 4 12s. We have a lot of 12 in music, so it's powerful, right? So what does it mean to you, or why is it so important that we activate our DNA? Most people think of 2 strands. Some people are already thinking of 4 strands. But what does it mean to you, activating our DNA?
I think the first thing to consider when activating our DNA is to reevaluate having an initial dialogue about DNA once again. We are walking instruments of DNA. We carry an electrical field around us. At the same time, our DNA is covered in a shell of water. There's so much happening right now with those concepts alone. And while the work...
No, I was going to say, that it is fascinating. You're talking about that we are an instrument, right? Which is true. That I, not only as a person but as a singer, my body is my instrument. Our body normally has, they say, more or less 60%, so 55 to 75% water. And if we start thinking about it, you're talking about water around the DNA. We know that water can hold information. There's water in our saliva, in our perspiration, in our digestive fluids, in our urine. Even in our bones, we have water. So what is that connection? Why is water? In our planet, it's like a water, all the oceans, the rivers, the lakes. We need water. So what is that connection? What makes that connection so precious?
So what I'm interested in, and this book is interesting because it covers many different keys and notes and everything. Like when you introduce the show, it is this tapestry of different concepts, but they are interconnected and they rely on one another to be a form of inspiration. But I believe that the component of water in DNA is a much more fundamental concept of something that was presented to us by Plato and the Pythagoreans thousands of years ago with the Platonic solids. The Platonic solids, including the dodecahedron, which is the symbol of the universe and ether and the number 12, and the icosahedron, which is the symbol for water. There are so many forms of the dodecahedron and the icosahedron in nature. This book is an exploration of DNA as a dodecahedral model, and the icosahedron is the water. So we know from research and also from ancient wisdom that the dodecahedron and the icosahedron are dual pairs of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just one way of looking at this. There are so many different perspectives, but I'm looking more at the geometry, which is instrumental not only in our science world, but in spirituality as well. Geometry.
So
DNA
why?
and water
Yeah.
are dual couples of each other. And you're right. It's so profound that water is the heart of our planet, but
Yeah.
also the electromagnetic field per se is the frequency that
Right.
our planet is vibrating on.
Correct.
And so with sound and frequency, in my practice, we understand that frequency invokes a physiological response. And that physiological response is complex, but at the same time, I believe that water has a lot to do with it.
Well, we also know that sound carries differently underwater or in water than through air, right? And I think for me, what's always fascinating as a sound healer and as a singer is that the vibrational canal, our voice, runs through our body, but what people forget, it also is a connecting force to each other, right? So when I speak now and I have my headphones on, I hear your voice. It goes into my body through my ears, through my ear channels, and I carry you and the memory of you in my body forever, which is like mind-blowing. And this is how evolution, yeah, and you do the same. I mean, and it's the same. And for everybody out there, it's the same. Like we're building networks similar to how water, there's a river and tributaries, and they're all connected. And you look at the sky and you think, oh, it's a rain cloud, but it's actually like a sky river. It's all connected. It's like the river evaporates, it becomes the water overhead, it falls down again in a totally different part of the earth. I mean, it's like mind-blowing, like the little raindrop, it's coming from whatever, some river in California, and it drops down in Ohio, and then it goes over to New York, and then people drink it, and then it becomes part of the body, and then they urinate, and then it becomes a part of the environment. And it is crazy. It is like really crazy. And I think, oh, sorry, that's why it's so fascinating, the tapestry that you've woven, because the one part is the water, but then you have the part also with, I was so excited there, I swallowed wrong. The other part is, yeah, I'll take a sip of water in a second. But the other part is like all this ancestral healing. Like we are linked through time and space, right? So the one part is to be present in the here and now, but the other part is the DNA is constantly evolving. So we have ancestral healing and trauma, and also all those good things that our DNA carries from our ancestors. And, that's just my fascination. Why we don't think it's enough, the two strands, why we would love to unfold and get curious about the mystery and the potential of 12 strands.
I think that there is a much deeper story beyond the double-stranded DNA. It is an adventure story that began, over 70 years ago, nearly 72 this year. I think that the story introduced a darkness that it's penetrating when we consider how the DNA molecule as we know it was discovered. And it's important that we penetrate the story back. It's important that we actually ask questions around the story of what is this darkness about even? When we do that, I believe that we are getting closer to the truth, the light of it, the soul of the of the form that wants to emerge from beyond what we know, beyond our comprehension of the DNA molecule. And the 12-stranded DNA is more of it's a blueprint of the future, and a concept that I believe is more geometric, but it's also spiritual as well. Mm-hmm. If we sit on our tails and are happy and satisfied with the double-strand DNA, that's as far as we're going to get, ever. But if we want to continue the conversation, which I think is worth it, because our DNA is the gatekeeper to our library, our endless truth, and how we explore the world around us, and how we are communicating with others, with even if we don't understand it, we are communicating with other people in our presence, remotely, and how we are able to relate with animals and water itself and different dimensions. That's because of our DNA. Our DNA is that source that enables us to do that. And that's why I think it's really important to have a dialogue, a reevaluation of what is DNA. No one is able to truly, not truly, but DNA it will be an ongoing topic, but to unravel the next understanding of DNA beyond just the nucleotides and the deoxyribose sugar and the phosphate. We know that already. But let's continue this conversation, because it's critical to understanding what is the next level of being human.
Yeah, and if we understand it, maybe we'll just take a quantum jump and then come back to where we were at the beginning of the show, that we will, if enough people, it'll be like the 100 monkey theory, if enough people get connected, then wow, what if we were able just to jump into world peace, Anyway, we're going to take a short station break. That's like a little cliffhanger for our sponsors. And then we're going to be back with Ruslana and talk more in depth about the 12-stranded DNA and sound healing and frequency medicine and all those glorious things.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
With happy clients all over the world, Kara Johnstad knows that your voice is the missing link to more authenticity, abundance, creativity, and health. An internationally acclaimed voice expert, Kara's breakthrough methods have helped thousands of people successfully heal their voice wounds and extinguish the story of self-doubt and shyness forever. Join in group trainings, attend online sessions, schedule one-on-one time, and invite Kara to work with your organization and community. Get started today. Go to www.karajohnstad.com and receive a special guided meditation designed to fine-tune your inner voice and welcome you on the voice journey.
This is Kathy Beal, host of Celestial Compass, featuring astrology you can use. Celestial Compass points you to what's going on in the sky and what you can do with it down here on Earth. We also explore fun, effective, and cosmic tools for navigating this adventure we call life. Join me the first and third Monday of the month at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for Celestial Compass. It's enlightening, entertaining, and empowering.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
You came across someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited
for summer break because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time landing a job
and getting back on his feet?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Voice Rising. A big thank you to all of our listeners out there for supporting the show. If you're enjoying our conversations, please subscribe to your favorite streaming platform and share this episode with your friends. It truly helps us to grow the show and bring more inspiring guests to you. And so now let's dive right back in. Ruslana, sound is such a central theme in your work. You talked about that you now have like a sound healing medicine kind of practice. I think it's called, share with me, I think it's called something beautiful, like songbird or song. What's it called again?
Thank you. So my practice is called Songbird Science.
Yeah, Songbird Science. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how do you see a bird? You know, the thing about birds that is so beautiful is that they are singing, because we were talking about dark and light. Birds are singing in the dark, trusting that the sun will rise and the day will come. Isn't that beautiful? They sing in the dawn. They are singing way before the sun rises. They're not waiting to say, "Oh, I'm going to sing when the light is there." They're like, "No, I'm gonna usher in the new day. I'm gonna bring it in." It's powerful, right? And they have this voice. You were talking about hearing your own small voice calling you to do this work. So how do you see the voice's role in DNA activation and in healing?
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe that the voice is this vision. The voice and the vision are interconnected. When we hear the sound and the vision, the image that comes to mind, sometimes it feels like a dream. And it could be a dream. It's actually, I believe we can dream when we are awake. I wouldn't even call it daydreaming. I think this is part of a separate dimension where we are starting to see the future. And to me, when I heard the voice and when I saw my jump into, well, a lot of people think it's the abyss or the void. I saw it as an opportunity to become part of something bigger and work with sound. It was really scary. But at the same time, I thought that this is going to introduce something really dynamic. And it did. It took several years to do, but I started my practice in a yoga studio called The Art of Us. I remember lugging my cart of instruments up and down the stairs for years because they don't have an elevator. Without having a full-time job, this was my job, and I was writing my book.
So some of those instruments are singing bowls or shruti box, or what instruments are you lugging up and down those stairs?
I had singing bowls, bamboo leaves, chimes, drums, gongs.
Nice.
Bells, seashells, instruments that I've made myself, drums that I've created from clay, anything that is inspired by nature. I wanted to share it. Yes.
And you created like meditative sound baths for people. They would come and then be guided in a meditation, and then you would have a soundscape a landscape of sound that would hug them. That would is that how I can imagine the work?
Yes. So when I would start my classes, I would bring a soothing, interwoven frequency soundscape, which would enable a person to drift into their dream world or just relax. I think that some people feel that they just fall asleep and then they just don't get any effect from the frequency. And I explained to them that that's not the case, because your body is here, your cells are receiving the vibration, and I would show them different imagery of how water is impacted by frequency, and those geometric shapes are pretty fundamental in how we can relate to how vibration can impact our cells, because our cells are water as we know it.
Yeah.
So with the evolution of my practice over the years, I started to work at a hospital. There is a hospital that I work at now called the VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University Health System, also Medical College of Virginia, where I've done over 300 sound sessions with patients and their families as well. This time in my life was not only profound for me, but also for the hospital as well, as they were weary for me to even walk into the patient's room, set up my crystal bowls. I didn't have all of those instruments, of course, but to bring so much comfort and solace to such an uncomfortable atmosphere, a sterile atmosphere, is a gift. So
yeah, it's interesting. I was going to say, it's interesting because we say of sound mind and sound body. So if your body is healthy, we literally say your body is sound. And I always say this, sometimes people know this from the show, but in German, the word gesund, it comes from sound. So we know that when the body is healthy, we say then, I mean, we have this in English, that we have a sound body. We say we have good vibes. We feel good vibes, right? We know intuitively that if our vibrational field is happy and good, we say, wow, that person has good vibes, or we feel like, this is really feeling good. Like we're on the same wavelength. We're on the same frequency. We literally have the language, and yet people kind of tend to forget that when they're sick, and I would say even when you're healthy, because who wants to get sick, that sound is that powerful. Right? I mean, it can also harm us. I mean, I've heard, some pretty heavy duty. I'm not a biggest fan of like heavy duty techno music or screaming punk stuff. So that would, for me, really put my nervous system in a twist, right? But it's amazing that the hospitals, I think they're becoming more and more open to these directions, put it like that. And it's good.
They are. Interestingly, a couple of days ago, a gentleman reached out to me after learning about my book and my work with frequency. And basically, he was interested in learning about how he could incorporate with his company a prefabricated wall into operating rooms that are infused with 432 hertz.
Nice.
Can you imagine how groundbreaking this would be in our modern healthcare system?
Well, I know from the work of John Stuart Reed, I'm not sure if you know him, but for example, they know that cancer cells have a different frequency in sound than healthy cells. So if you listen to them while operating, you can literally operate more exactly and take out less healthy tissue. So this is powerful. And I also do the work of Raymond Royal Rife, right?
Yes.
And so I've been
Yes.
working with John White, does Spooky 2, which I find very, very powerful. And they know that everything that's alive, put it like this, has a frequency. So that is what's so powerful. People forget this. Everything that we know that is alive, the wind, if you really listen, has sounds, the birds, the river, the ocean, your best friend, the humming of the electrical lines. I mean, there's sound everywhere. And it is up to us to realize, I guess I would say it like that, that we can influence these environments to make the sounds that surround us more harmonious. Because if we don't do it consciously, the sounds might, if you have a TV running the news 24/7, you might not be well and you don't understand why, and you think it's genetics, and it might just be that those frequencies are changing now you're talking about epigenetics, I guess, but changing the way our DNA expresses itself, right?
Yes, I everything has a frequency. The earth has a frequency. I think that the conversation between what's better, I won't go into this, but the 440 versus 432 hertz is so interesting, because if we take the concept of binaural beats, which means if you take a frequency and you listen to it on your left ear and then you listen to another frequency on your right ear, the difference between those frequencies is a binaural beat. And I want to just integrate that if you take 440 hertz and listen to it in your left hemisphere and listen to 432 hertz in your right hemisphere, then you're hearing the difference of 8 hertz, which is the frequency of our planet. And also the frequency in what you and I work with in sound healing, where the dream state is not necessarily the destination, but a optimal physiological state where sound healing can be such a beautiful modality to explore kind of interdimensional opportunities.
Yeah. You talk in your book about breath also. So we have, we have our breath, our inhale, our exhale, how sound is connected and interconnected with the DNA. And then you talk about, I'm going to find it here, it's about fraying, like DNA, that the DNA is literally breathing. So share with us, how does our breath affect, well, it affects so much. Our breath is also connected to our emotions, but how does our breath itself influence our DNA?
The breath is such an important vehicle in how we are able to change our physiological state. How we think, how we feel, what emotions we sort of tag along throughout our day is so dependent on how we are breathing. So if we want to breathe beauty and think and feel it, then we intentionally want to carry this intelligence in our DNA. We start with our belief and breathing it in. We want to become part of it. And so when, I'm just going to use an example, but when I was telling you the story of how I was scared of doing the Ironman, knowing that my father had the heart attack, but I wanted to face it. I breathed in that fear. I wanted not to be fearful, which is, um, just rejecting it and kind of being inward or away from it. But I actually wanted to find strength in it. So I would breathe in the strength. I would breathe in the belief that I can do it. I drilled it in with my breath. And over time, I mean, even if that means smiling through it in moments when I was having really challenging times, on my bike or in the run where I forgot my socks and I had a marathon to run, or
Oh
I
my
was in
goodness.
extreme hail conditions and in 40-degree weather, cycling on the bike 100 miles, 112 miles, I still smiled and breathed in love and hope and beauty. And I became that. That's how my body became hot. It's how my body became able to survive through turbulent conditions. And just we know from research that DNA does fluctuate in state. It's able to open and become exposed in some bases, and that breathing is actually a fundamental concept of DNA in the way that it's able to shift. So we know from breathing that we're able to change our physiology. So what I'm trying to say in my book and introduce is that we can actually allow and accept that our DNA does breathe through our own capacity of how we breathe throughout the day of living and how we're seeing the world and what we want the world to be as well.
Yeah, I think it's so powerful for us to remember how it's how much of a miracle we are. And I think we've been a little bit dumbed down in a way. And if we go back into the breath and the sound and connection to the earth and even belief is a layer of voice work, right? Intent is also it is voices in our head. Let's dive into one last thing. You talk about, and I love this for myself, slowing down as an important process to align with the subtle pulse of time that connects us to both the physical and etheric worlds. It's almost like we have to unwind to create more space so that we can open ourselves up to this DNA activation. So how can slowing down in this world that is just so fast, we have so much information coming at us, we have so many things to do, why is slowing down not only important to give us a peace of mind, but important for our DNA and to heal? Why is slowing down so important?
When we give ourselves an opportunity to slow down, then we are able to contemplate, we're able to feel, we're able to listen. Sometimes listening means that we stop. Even it seems as though we're stopping, but we're actually catching up to information within our body that wants to reveal something powerful to us. Sometimes it means taking a
back,
break from
Ruslana.
social media. Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Yes.
So you were talking about slowing down?
I was mentioning that sometimes we need to take a break from social media or making time to take a walk in nature or making time to, eat a nice, nourishing meal. Maybe it could just mean taking a long breath.
Yeah.
Those 3 seconds in the day, just to take a deep breath and slow down, helps us reset, helps our mind and our heart and our body remember what is our true belief system. I really think that it's important, since we are evolving by the second on a cellular level,
Yeah.
that it's critical for us if we can remember to.
Hey everybody, we had some technical difficulties and we had to end the show, unfortunately, a couple of moments before the hour, but I did want to jump back in and close today's enlightening conversation and extend a heartfelt thank you to Ruslana Remennikova for sharing her profound insights into the healing power of sound and the activation of our DNA. So everybody go out and get her book. It's called Activating Our 12-Stranded DNA, Secrets of Dodecahedral DNA for Completing Our Human Evolution. But all you need to put in the search machines is Ruslana Remennikova and then Activating Our 12-Stranded DNA. And you're going to find it, okay? And to all our listeners, I want to thank you again for tuning in. And if you found this conversation inspiring, share it with your friends and share it with your community. Let's spread this powerful message far and wide. Be sure to subscribe to Voice Rising on your favorite platform. It helps us a lot to continue to grow the show. And join us, of course, next time as we welcome Linda Starr-Wolf to the show, where we'll dive into her new book, The Aquarian Shaman, Walking the Spiral Path of Transformation. It promises to be another fascinating conversation about how our voice is the missing link to global consciousness. So until then, keep shifting harm to harmony and stay gold. Bye-bye.
Endless